Hi again, welcome to the Garage. I'm Pierre. Final episode of the Wilton vise. Finally, we'll be seeing how we get the last fixturing done on that. A little bit of epoxy finish and make it nice enough for a tool. It won't pass for a car finish, but that's good enough. Not too bad. We'll be doing some sanding, masking. We'll have a rattler can done, and that's called color matching, which is not too bad. This is the sample we got at the color match boutique. The place they did this for me. I mean, I paid for it. They didn't do it for free. It's Pièces Auto Fontaine. It's a car parts store, double with the color match, and they supply car paints for body shops around. So they also offer the service of matching the colors and the color matches. They get this little can for about $30. That's not too bad. We'll see how they do it also. I just asked permission and they allow me to film the process. So we got a lot today and let's go get at it. So as a matter of, let's say, using suspenders and belts, I'm going to make some holes in there. These were already done into the piece of metal that I kind of glued on. I'll be finding center on this, and I'll be using a 1024 set screw. It'll be dug right in there, threaded all the way to the top, sunk in epoxy. In order to do that, these holes were made very perpendicular with the original piece. So what I have to do, there we go. This has been calibrated on the milling machine table, so it's perpendicular with the quill. So visually lining it up. Hey, come on, you. There we go. I think we're pretty well lined up here. 0.1, 0.0 anyway degree. There you go. I think you can see on the camera. Lined up. The holes are going to be perpendicular. Let's find the centers on these now. I'm using a spot drill. It's going to be kind of visual. I think we're pretty well in there. That's good. This is the y-axis, 0. This one's on the little slant, so I'll have to that's good. 85 thousandths this direction. Not 85, but 895, 899 this direction. We got the number 8 tab drill. That's going right into the hole. I need a 3/4 of an inch, at least a little bit more, to accommodate this this set screw. That's going to be more than enough. Well centered where we need to go. That's it. We'll start tapping, so the tap will be started straight. Let's try power tapping. Going good. That's deep enough. I'll check the bottom of the hole later, but it should be pretty well cleaned up. Last one. Back to high speed. Yeah, we're pretty well in. 881. Don't see any deflection. Okay, the holes are done, ready to dismount. And for finalizing the bottom of the holes, I use the finishing tap or bottoming tap. Which see the tapping threads here are much closer to the end than a starter tap or a normal tap or whatever. This is very, very tapered there. This is like allows to go much deeper. And there's also a detail of the spiral tap that pulls out the chips out of the hole by the rear. It's not pushing it in or leaving it there. It's just like actively pulling it out. It's nice for blind holes. Right back to the table here. I'm going to do a few finishing touches before applying some rattler. I got some paint that matches pretty good, so we'll see that. But there's still some preparation to be done, making the corners smoother, nicer. Just a little bit of filing, liptonizing. There we go, making the edges match nicely. The lines here, all these numbers are good shape. The transition there, I mean, you don't feel a thing. Here, same thing. Inside, same thing. You don't feel a thing with your finger. So it means that it's really close. We just prepared another batch of epoxy. This is going to be used to fill in the holes there, and eventually I'll be sinking these set screws right into the holes. I'm going to get the epoxy ahead in the hole. I want this to start just before the screw and really get into the threads and to the bottom of this at the same time. I made sure also that the holes were going to be deep enough. Also important to get the head sunk in. I want the head sunk onto the surface there. It's going to be easier to let's move this. It's going to be easier, like I say, to fill up the top and make a clean surface on this. Let's butter the entry, and the rest will follow. There we go. Let's screw this in there. Don't want to have my hands soaking in the butt. That's going to be doing a good job. I like this. I think the epoxy's got to climb up the hole because there was room before. It was going easier in this to sink the heads. I think we're having hydraulic pressure in there. That will release. I think that's pretty full. Hope that there's room along the threads to the epoxy out. It's coming. Just want to make sure it goes under the surface. Won't need to be ground. It's there. Next one, we'll be buttering this in a way to cover all the holes. A little bit like a car putty. I'll be taking this into the house. That'll be warmer, and we'll be fixing a few other flaws in there. I think the rest will do a nice job with painting. There we go. Lightly warmed up, and the epoxy won't be taking so long to cure. This is how it came out of the oven. The epoxy is quite hard. Filled up the little nooks and crannies and everything. It's going to hide the screws, heads, and everything should be pretty well fine. I'm going to be using. I got some finer grits files here, little filing pad or whatever, coarse and fine, round. This is an oval. See, this is a nice little file. I think this one, it's oval, allows to it's like a variable diameter. It's a way but I'm using. This one is a flat on one side and the curve on the other side, and diverse sanding paper bands, pretty rough. Got down to I guess this is pretty worn. I had that in the oven, and I also waited a few days, so the epoxy needs some curing time, and if you don't get that, it never really gets hard. It just stays soft, like a day or two. Okay, that's not too bad. Seems like it's doing a good job. Let's go. I'm using the rough side. Make sure we got nothing on this surface. Doesn't that not supposed to have any filling there. One thing about paint, you don't use thicker coats of paint to hide the defects. It's really has to be like done with the primer, the filler. The paint just reflects everything. Defects reflects defects. Almost there. Okay, I'm showing here the feathered effect of the epoxy. This is the gray spot in the corner, and everything is looking good. I'm not going to make like a car hood finish. I mean, it's not the purpose of this. It's going to be banged up eventually. Changing my position to kind of work it on this surface here. This is a little bit more complicated, but with the proper handling of the file. Here it's the same principle as filing metal. You follow the curve and you're going to be ending up with a very nice, nicely shaped curve in here. Here we go. Doing all the surfaces. This is going to have to be all blended. Even here, that little piece here to match up the corner. There you go. Getting there. Very gently. I'm not picking up any metal there. I'm just trying to pick up the epoxy. That's it. Needs patience though. If you want to do it all at once, you'll probably ruin your work. Now, maybe need a little bit more putty. I'll be using some Bondo or something to complete this. There we go. I'll be using a narrower file a little bit, just to, I don't want to hit the sides there because this is the radius. And I'd like to keep it as close as possible to the original. Here we go. All I want to do is make the surface even there and blend the extremities with the other paint. I'll be needing a little sanding. I'll be dulling the surface of the other paint to make more, to make the newer paint stick on the older paint. There we go. Just following the round shape. This oval file, it's easy to play with the radius in there. You just kind of switch it, switch the way it enters, and ends up making a decent radius. There we go. Roughing a little bit, and some fine touch more by the end. There you go. Using different type of files, softer, because if you get a very perfect, surface that's really perfect, you can use sometimes some stiffer files. But if you really have to match with the surfaces that aren't that perfect, like a flexible file like this is foamy. See, the pretty flexible, pretty foamy. There you go. A little bit more. I'll keep on working a little bit on this, and I'll show you some progress near the end. Side, same thing. A little bit with the rough. There you go. See, the bottom is already matching pretty good, feathered. Side, the same thing. This file matches pretty well the radius in there. So that'll help me getting closer. So we'll make sure that the top of it gets flat. Get the flat file. Gently. There's not much epoxy to clean up in there, but just enough to fill up some of the holes. A few dings. This is just like a woodworking shop without the smell. Only the dust. Just the fingers are pretty good to feel exactly what where you're up to. It's very sensitive. Why do you think you pick your nose? You know when to stop. Okay. In order to paint, we're masking the part. We're gonna be using some spray paint. Here, using the special scanning camera, the computer will eventually produce some kind of a recipe with the amount of pigments that will have to be added to the mixture, with a predetermined volume of what's needed as a final quantity. The pigments are weighted on the scale to a very precise amount of just drops or whatever. It can be weighted very precisely. This is an assortment of all the pigments used to make colors and paints and whatever match needs to be done. And depending upon the complexity, you may use from a few pigments to lots of them. So there's another one that's being mixed, weighed, and as it goes on, the recipe will complete itself. See that a few drops make the difference. That doesn't take much to alter a color or whatever. There's the most liquid part. There we go. A binding agent has been added in order to keep the pigments in suspension and eventually form a solid coat of paint when dried or cured. It's needed because the pigment alone aren't able to form a permanent coat that will be solid and resistant. This is why we need that binding agent. Now we're making a sample. These cards are with different kind of tones of primers. The paint usually darkens with drying, so match not very far. There's a second application to kind of make sure that it covers fully. From looking from there, the match seemed pretty good. We'll get closer to see how the match is by making that little window in the card. This will allow us to kind of compare closer. The match is pretty close. Wouldn't say 100% perfect, but I think for a tool that'd be close enough. I guess most of you know how to get the paint out of the can, but before you take it out, it's got to be put in. Notice that the lid, the plastic lid, is used as a part of the funnel to insert the liquid into the can itself. So you see that the useful part of the paint is not occupying the full volume of the can now. That machine will send the paint, all the solid inside the can and pressurize the can in order to be able to use it. I shortened the time a little bit. Maybe it takes a minute or two or something. So ready to have the rattlers going in the can. Little test, and we're ready to get back to the shop and use it. Okay, the rattling moment. Everything's masked. And we're ready. Yes. That's going to look too new for the rest of the vise. Oof, going out here stinks. Finally done. Some people are wondering how much time it took to realize the restoration. Hard to tell. Maybe a day, maybe two. A lot of time involved in filming, first of all. Second, most time consuming stuff is also waiting for a cure, waiting for different little things in there. So maybe a day, is like I said, maybe a day, maybe two. But the most important thing is that it's done, and I think it's well done. So I think you can see here the surface in the front that was kind of needed to be matched. That's not too bad. That wouldn't pass for a car finish, but I think that would do nicely on this case. The arch there, that's done. Sliding good. I'll have to release this. It's back heavy on this. If I release this here, it will want to go in the back, but it will perform right to vertical. Just there we go. As far as this direction here, this is where it's going, and the surface here, I mean, it was already banged, so fixed to a certain extent. Like I say, nothing to match a car finish, but I think it's reasonably well done. So this vise goes this axis. It goes the other axis also. You need to tie up everything, otherwise it will bite your fingers. Just be careful when you work with this vise, because the weight sometimes will just get in your fingers. Goes into this direction also. There you go. Almost 90 degrees, or I think it does 90 degrees if I'm right. Also, let's say compound angles. There's not much it doesn't do. Just, that's a very nice vise, and it spins around the base here 360 degrees very flawlessly, very nicely, smoothly. There we go. Let's tighten a little bit so it doesn't squeeze my fingers, and the base is gotten tight by this. This is how you get something done, and I think it ends up in making this vise have a second life, and it's going to be good for a long time.